You have seen the number. $300 a month, a plain index fund, and one day you are a millionaire. It is the most repeated promise in personal finance. It is also true. On an average salary, $300 a month does get you to $1 million. It takes 43 years. And on the day it finally lands, that million will buy you about $300,000 worth of the life you're living right now. Nobody who quotes the number quotes that part. Let me put every assumption on the table first, so you can check my work as I go. An average salary, call it $62,000 a year, which lands somewhere near $4,000 a month in your account once tax is gone. And 7% a year, not 10. 10% is roughly what the American stock market has returned, before you subtract the small detail that prices were rising the whole time. Take inflation back out and you have about 7. That is the one you can actually spend. So, how long it really takes, what the million is worth on the day it arrives, and the one variable that moves that date, which is not the variable you have been thinking about. Start with the promise exactly as it is normally sold. $300 a month, 10% a year. Do that, and you cross $1 million in about 34 years. That arithmetic is not invented. At 10%, it is correct. It is the engine under almost every video with this title. Now run the same $300 at 7. 43 years, not 34, 43. The same money, the same fund, the same unbroken discipline, and 9.5 more years of your life spent on the far side of it. That is what one assumption does, not a rounding error. Almost a decade. And it does it at every level. $500 a month is 29 years at 10%, and 36 at 7. $700 a month, 26 or 32. $1,000 a month, 22.5 or 28. The gap never disappears. It only narrows as the numbers get bigger, from 9.5 years down to 5. The reason the 10% version survives is that nobody is lying. 10% is a real, defensible, published figure. It is simply measured in dollars that shrink, and the shrinking is left out of the sentence. It also quietly assumes two other things: that you pay nothing to hold the fund, and that you never miss a single month in 3 decades. Neither is true either, and both push the same direction. 7 is the friendly version of the honest number, not the pessimistic one. Now put those contributions back into an actual life. $4,000 a month arriving in your account. $500 a month is 12% of it. That is a genuinely good savings rate, better than most people you know manage. It takes 36 years. $700 a month is 18%. 32 years. $1,000 a month is 25% of everything you take home. A quarter of your money, every single month, without a gap, for 28 years. And notice what that percentage is doing. 25% of 4,000 leaves $3,000 a month to run an entire life on. 25% of 12,000 leaves 9. It is the same admirable-sounding savings rate, and it is not remotely the same sacrifice. Almost every video in this category quotes a rate without ever mentioning what is left underneath it. So here is the honest shape of the promise. On an average salary, saving seriously, you arrive at $1 million somewhere in your late 50s or your 60s. And I want to be careful, because that is not a failure. That is a good outcome. Most people reach 60 holding nothing remotely like it. It is simply about a decade later than the number that got you to click on this, which would be the end of it. If the million were a fixed thing, it is not. 36 years is a long time, but it is a real answer, and you could build a life around it. Except it is still wrong, and the second reason is larger than the first, because so far we have only argued about how long it takes to reach the line. Nobody has checked whether the line stays where it is. $1 million is a number. It is not an amount. The number is fixed. What it buys is not. Every year you spend running at it, it quietly gets smaller. Prices rise around 3% a year over the long run. That is not a crisis figure. That is the ordinary background rate of a normal economy behaving itself. In 20 years, $1 million buys what $554,000 buys today. In 30 years, $412,000. In 40 years, which is the timeline you are actually on at $300 a month, $307,000. So go back to the promise. $300 a month makes you a millionaire in 43 years. That is true, And on the morning it happens, you will be holding roughly $300,000 of what your life costs today. You did not fail. You ran the entire race. The line moved while you were running. This is why the word millionaire has such a long shelf life in this industry. It has meant something different in every decade, and it has never once stopped sounding like enough. A millionaire in 1985 was holding what it now takes about $3 million to hold. The word did not change. The amount hiding behind it fell by 2/3 inside a single working lifetime, and nobody sent out a notice. So, what is $412,000 in practice? The rough rule is that you can draw about 4% of it a year without running it down. That is $16,500 a year in today's money for the rest of your life. 16,500 on top of whatever the state gives you. That is genuinely not nothing. It is also nothing like the retirement the word millionaire is quietly doing the work of implying, which is why the target should never have been a round number in the first place. It should be your own. Take what your life actually costs in a year and multiply it by 25. If you spend $40,000 a year, your number is $1 million. Genuinely, that one is yours. If you spend 28, your number is 700,000. And you will cross it years before the person still running at the round one for no reason other than that they never checked what they were running at. Which means the question was badly formed from the beginning. Not, how do I become a millionaire? But, how do I end up with enough in the money I am holding right now? But let us take the round one anyway, since it is the one you came here for, and make it real. $1 million in today's money 30 years from now. At 7% real, that is $820 a month. 20% of an average take-home every month for 30 years. At the end, you will have put in $295,000 of your own money. The other $705,000 is growth. 30% you, 70% time, which tells you precisely where the leverage in this thing lives. And it is not in the part you have been optimizing. So it was never a question about becoming a millionaire. It is a question about what moves the date. There are 4 things that can. 3 of them work. And the one the entire internet sells you is the one you control least. Candidate 1, returns, beat the market, find the better fund. Suppose you could. Suppose you found 2 extra points a year, every year, for 30 years. 9% real instead of 7. 700 a month would become 1,281,000 instead of 854,000. $427,000 for 2 points. It is a real effect. It is also the only number on this list you cannot simply decide to have. Candidate 2, contribute more. Same 7%. No cleverness at all. Move 700 a month up to 950. 1,159,000. You just captured 305,000 of the 427 that beating the market would have paid you. And you did it in an afternoon, with a form, using no skill whatsoever. Candidate 3, start earlier. This one is not close. 700 a month from 25 to 65 gets you 1,837,000. The identical 700 a month from 30 to 65 gets you 1,261,000. 5 years apart. $577,000 of difference. And those 5 years cost you $42,000 in contributions. $42,000 in, $577,000 out. There is no fund on earth that pays that. It is not an investment return at all. And it is just the calendar. Candidate 4, and almost nobody does this one. Let the contribution grow as you do. Hold 700 a month flat for 30 years and you land on 854,000. Raise it by 3% a year, roughly the pace your own pay drifts anyway, and you land on $1,167,000. $313,000 out of money you do not currently have and will never miss, because it arrives as a raise you never got the chance to get used to. Now the caveat I owe you, because every number I have given you assumes something false. They all assume you never stop. You will stop. A car will die, a roof will go, a job will end, and the contribution will pause for 8 months. Every projection in this video assumes 30 unbroken years, and essentially nobody gets 30 unbroken years, which is why the money that protects the plan turns out to matter more than the money that grows it. Hold that thought. And one last thing about the shape of the curve because it explains why people quit. At 820 a month, you have 142,000 after 10 years, 427,000 after 20, a million after 30. The final 5 years add $336,000, more than the first 15 years managed combined. The first 100,000 takes 7 years and 10 months. The last 100,000 takes 14 months. Same person, same deposit, same fund. The only thing that changed is how much time was already stacked up behind it. So the promise was never a lie. It was just quoted in a currency that does not exist yet. Here it is in one that does. $820 a month. 20% of an average take-home. 30 years. $295,000 of your own money, and a million of what a million actually means today. The date is not set by your fund. It is set by the fraction you send, and the day you start sending it. Both of those are decisions, and one of them is available to you this afternoon. Except there is one ordinary thing that undoes all of it, and it is not a market crash. It is the transmission, the deposit, the month between jobs, the boring emergency that forces you to sell the thing you have been building at exactly the moment it is worth least. Next video, why $500 sitting in cash protects this plan better than $5,000 invested in it. Subscribe, and I will see you there.